Now, the host over at Fox and Friends attempted to do a little bit of spin on the release of the excerpts from John Bolton's new book that are pretty damning to the Trump impeachment defense. So now, Brian Kilmeade, especially, is going on to talk about how this leak is, well, not a coincidence. Take a look.
If John Bolton's lawyers are telling the truth here and they just submitted it in and it's leaked out, if that is indeed the case, more evidence that people within the administration are actually against the administration. And the other thing is devastating timing, because this thing was on the fast track to closing out without witnesses on Friday. Right. Only Mitt Romney pretty much saying, I want to see witnesses. Everybody else saying, I've heard enough. And now this gives fuel to the Senator Schumer's of the world, the Adam Schiff's of the world, to say, I need a witness, and he wants to testify.
But when you say devastating timing, it's got to be a coincidence, right? That it would come out just hours before the Senate impeachment is going to start at 1 o'clock.
All right, so I love that, right? He said it's devastating timing because this thing was on the fast track to closing out without witnesses, which is exactly what they wanted. Like, come on, let's get this done. Let's close it out. Oh, crap. Here comes John Bolton just at the last minute when we didn't need him. Hey, believe me, I'm on the same thought usually when it comes to John Bolton. He's the last person I want to see. He's the last person I want to hear about. But in this case, it happens to work against Donald Trump. So it is kind of strange how that timing is. But and I love how he points out Mitt Romney pretty much wants to see witnesses. Everybody else doesn't want. No, we're not at all interested in seeing more witnesses because we're not at all interested in actually having a real trial. I love that just the admission here, right? Accidentally admitting that, like, yeah, we just wanted this thing to be rigged, and then that's it. Like, let's go. It's supposed to be rigged, and now it was broken. All right, anyway. So now, yes, somebody wanted to do this. Somebody wanted to release this, and I think it was John Bolton. Bolton, he kept saying, look, I'll testify in front of the Senate. Just subpoena me. He's almost practically begging them to bring him in as a witness. Now, the Republicans, they desperately don't want that to happen because, as they said, they've, quote unquote, heard enough. They want to get it over with so they can acquit the president because they had always planned to do so. You think they're going to kick themselves out of power? No, of course not. So, like, hurry up. Let's go. We had to sit here and hear from actual witnesses, from the Democrats, and all that stuff. No. Listen, Mitch, get it done. Get it done. No witnesses and no documents. Again, these are McConnell's rules that were passed from the Senate, is that we got to vote on witnesses and we got to vote on documents. And generally, at least as it was before John Bolton, his book was leaked, they were not going in that direction. They were going in the direction of hurry it up and acquit. And so that's, again, throws a little bit of a wrench in that because I think this makes it a little bit harder. Remember, there's still an idea, and the Republicans know this, that the American people kind of have to buy this, at least a little bit. And the reason is because you have such a high amount of people, a large amount of people polled, about half of all Americans, which even includes Republicans, that want Donald Trump to be impeached and removed. So they've got to make a case to them as well as their own voters, right? And if they make it too obvious that the Republicans are covering for Trump, well, then they risk potential votes, right? That could be disastrous for the reelection chances. But at the same time, they also have to go the other way to the Trump sycophants. So they don't want to get wiped out in the Senate or the White House or, lose even bigger in the House. And that's why they didn't want witnesses in the first place, because less witnesses and less documentation, less evidence means that they can continue with their talking point of Ukrainian corruption. The president didn't do anything wrong. With John Bolton, though, John Bolton is a well-known neoconservative, and he served in the Trump administration. And in his book, he said Trump held up the aid for exactly the reason that he is being impeached. Clear as day. clear as day. So now Republicans, you can see from Fox News, they're very concerned about this. In fact, GOP sources say the revelation could be enough to sway 4 Republican senators needed for witnesses, especially since Senator Mitt Romney of Utah and Suzanne Collins of Maine have already strongly signaled they'd vote for witnesses. So now before, I wasn't exactly swayed, right? Since they voted for McConnell's rules package, which included having to take a vote for witnesses and for documentation. And so I was like, I don't know. These guys, Mitt Romney's pretty wishy-washy. He's weak. He knows his place, right? And Suzanne Collins, deeply, deeply unpopular in Maine. So she's facing a problem with her reelection anyway. Now, that actually might make the case that she could vote in favor of witnesses in order to try to get, to maintain her status as a moderate, right? I know only in crazy Washington speak would she be considered a moderate. In reality, I don't think there's anything, I don't think there's any such thing as a moderate Republican. But anyway, so you've got these people, these senators that could possibly flip over and allow John Bolton to be a witness. Now, Republican sources also told Axios that party leaders in the White House will still try to resist the witnesses because, as one top aide put it, quote, there is a sense in the Senate that if one witness is allowed, the floodgates are open. Meaning, you get John Bolton, and he starts talking about Mick Mulvaney, and he starts talking about Mike Pompeo, well, then that's going to have calls for them to come in and testify, and that's going to lead to even worse outcomes for the Republicans. And that's when they lose control of the basically media narrative. And that's what's really important here. That narrative, look, no matter how much you try to spin it, and Fox News can only do so much, you still got to convince people who right now are basically split half and half. They did, a majority did want Donald Trump impeached, but a very slim majority, or half and half, in some of the recent polls, want him not only impeached, but removed from office. Republicans are crapping themselves because they're trying to figure out, well, okay, how much is this going to cut into my career? Again, if you want to really understand Republicans' motives on anything, there's 2 things you got to remember. One, how will this impact my reelection chances? And 2, how will it impact my donors? Will I continue to get corporate donations? Those are really the 2 metrics you have to remember when it comes to Republicans and how they make decisions. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent progressive media.